All right, so my first speaker is Michael D'Angelo, and the presentation is, Can Washington be a relevant employer?
So, in many ways, government has a monopoly, essentially. We provide services that only we can provide. But when it comes to talent, we actually compete directly with employers in the region around us. And we're adjacent to one of the largest tech hubs, in the world. So for us, it's a big challenge. And our pitch generally to try to attract talent has always been, well, you work for government because here you can make a difference. In government, we have, better benefits. And in government, when you work in government, you get a job for life. Well, the world has changed. No one really cares about some of these things anymore. When interviewed or surveyed, 91% of millennials said they don't expect to work at the same employer for only a couple of years. And remember, millennials are in their mid-30s now. They're not kids anymore. Benefits, well, that's no longer true. There's some employers in the region that offer 5 months paid maternity leave. Some employers offer nap pods. What do we offer? Oh, we got cubes. It's the same thing. And that, the third is, in terms of empowerment and having a sense of purpose, this is something that we actually totally rock. We own this. This is our competitive advantage. But as a whole, our value proposition really just doesn't work anymore. It's not really relevant for the current workforce. And so what are we going to do about it? Well, what we need to do is we need to change our value proposition. We need to change our pitch. And we can start with something that we really is our unique value proposition, our unique advantage, which is the sense of purpose, sense of mission. But when we look at what it is that employers or employees and workforce are looking for, they're really looking for 4 things. 1, a sense of purpose. They're looking for 2, some accountability or authority and empowerment. They're looking for a sense of professional development. So we can start with that having a difference, making a difference in the workplace. And what's kind of interesting is that this is something that is valued more today than it ever has been in the past. Then we can add on top of that, changing the workplace environment, making government a place that people are actually drawn to. It's energizing, it's exciting, it's empowering, it's engaging, and give people a lot of flexibility in terms of how they do the hard work of government. And the third is building a reputation for being an employer that invests in their employees, their professional development. Now, some fear that if you invest in your employees' professional development, they might leave, right? But what if you don't invest in your employees and they stay? So this essentially is the value proposition that we in WATEC have been experimenting with. Is this something that actually can make us a more relevant employer as a state? And there's several experiments, over a dozen experiments that we are executing to kind of test out this value proposition. So I'll talk about 2 of them. The first one is space. Where would you rather work, the place on the left or the place on the right? More importantly, if you're a manager, what do you think your candidates would say, right? So within WATEC, we've done some experiments with space. What we did is we took an area that had 8 cubes, tore those out in favor of creating a lot of variety in space. Created teaming spaces, co-working spaces, head-down spaces, open, collaborative spaces. And what we've done is we've changed the dynamics of the space and allowed the employees to completely control it. They're the ones that configure the space to the way that they need to in order to accomplish the work. And we've seen some dramatic, outcomes from that. 90% reduction in conference room demands, 25% increased efficiency, 30% reduction in email. So here's another experiment. Over the last 40 years, companies have been transitioning away from a hierarchical system of governance to something called self-management. We heard about this. We started exploring it about 15 months ago in a small group, and what we learned was amazing. Number 1, we measured empowerment, and empowerment increased by 50%. We measure this every week, went from 60 to 90. Also, we saw a 10-fold increase in our ability to process and issues and make decisions. So based on that experience, we decided to create a much more rigorous scientific experiment, partnering with Harvard researchers as well as the unions. And we've launched an experiment, 12-month experiment last month. And that'll go for 12 months. So the question is this value proposition working? Does it look like it's working? Well, one of the things we do is we do exit interviews of all the candidates that turn us down for a job. And we're seeing consistent themes. What we're seeing is that employees, after interviewing, the government job was a backup to backup. It's now their number 1 job choice. We've seen we're seeing that they're willing to sacrifice $15,000 to $28,000 in the pay in order to work in government. So there's some data that we're starting to see, and it looks like this may be a valuable value proposition. But if you want to follow us more, follow us on our Twitter, e-Gov Thank you.